Madrid for the kind invitation to this conference. I'm very happy to be here. I would also like to begin expressing my gratitude to the Templeton World Character Foundation for all the support that my team and me have received during these last 7 years. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So following this presentation, I think it's just unfair to say thank you. Well, this is a brief presentation of the research group that I work with in the University of Navarra. It's a research group called Education, Citizenship and Character, and has been working since 1997, mostly at the national level until 2015. We begin to do international work, mostly in Latin American countries. And right now, well, the things that we're working right now is a group composed of 50 members, but the 4 of us are the ones that are most focused on character development. We're doing leadership training, 1-year-long training called Relays in Spain, and a 1-week training just for the leadership teams of schools or some other educational communities called PRIMED. And we're doing 2 research projects, one in Mexico and another one, University Communities for Character Development, which is focused on trying to generate a certain type of communities at the university level in which belonging and participating in a certain type of community promotes the development of virtuous character. And with collaborations with Argentina, with the Parque Foundation, Coast School in Colombia, with Universidad Peruana de Ciencias Aplicadas, UPC in Peru. All of them focused on character education at the school level. So the origin of this presentation, what happened was that I was with Marek, I don't know if Marek is here, but we were having a conversation with another fellow in Oxford a month ago, and this world-renowned scholar approached us and he asked me, well, Pablo, what are you doing? And I told him some of the things that I showed in the previous slide. And I told him, hey, I'm very enthusiastic about PRIME, the PRIME model to promote character education. We're implementing it in Latin America, but also in Spain and some other countries. And we think this is really successful and it's going to help a lot of people. And he looked at me and said, Juan Pablo, you're getting lost. This is not the way. And I was going, but what? And he said, you either need to choose virtue or PRIME, because PRIME is not about virtue. And he even had doubts that PRIME would have a moral compass in its design principles. And I answered him back that not only I didn't think that PRIME is not a moral model for character education, but also I told him that I right now can't think of a better model to promote virtue development in a school community or in any other kind of educational community, or even in communities that are not necessarily educational. I think it can also work for a business, it can also work for a family, and many other things. But, well, we'll see. I will explain those 2 sentences and you'll see for yourself if you think they can apply or not. This quote by Ludwig Wittgenstein, we're seeing what they mean because we use them like we use them. Marvin and many other psychologists avoid the use of the word virtue. And that's it. There are others who use it. But the thing is, why do they not use the word virtue? Why do they try to get away from it, to distinguish themselves from that word? So I think there are 2 main reasons. One, that was said the other day with Martin, is that it's many times it's associated with religion, which we have many historical reasons for that to be, and we know that many religions like this language and like the word virtue then. But that doesn't necessarily make virtue to be a religious term. And the second one is that a lot of people have been using the word virtue to describe what they do, even though what they are doing is not necessarily virtuous education. Sometimes it has been associated with people who do behaviorism or conductivism, in which we are focused on children doing things, even though we don't understand why is it that they have to do it, or if they have any emotional relationship with the good that has to be done. And it's just, no, this has to be done because this has to be done, and that's it. And we train children to do things that wouldn't be called. I don't think that anything that has been shown during these presentations is associated with virtue, or at least with Aristotelian virtue. But again, words mean what they mean because we use them like we use them. So, in knowledge of virtue, with many other words, we could say the same. This is a personal opinion. I don't know if I have enough empirical data to describe this, but I think in the virtue development subject, philosophers, or there's philosophers that I've been working with, focus mostly on the theory that is behind them, the essence of human nature, of what is a virtue, what is an internal disposition of the soul, what is freedom, do we really choose or not? And on the other hand, psychology maybe it's not, I think psychologists are not especially fans of metaphysics, but they are looking out for results. They have a rectified conviction of, hey, let's see what really works, and let's try to assess it. And let's see if we're really contributing to the good of children in our institutions. So I really respect that. And I think they know a lot about practice and about the how. So I'm not choosing either one of them. I think this is like a tunnel that is being built on both sides, and that if we want to get out of the hole, we need to find each other. So where does PRIME come from, or these design principles of PRIME? There was a project on the Pedagogical Foundation, 2007-2017, what works in character education and towards the science in character education. Both of them have free access in Google. So you just have the authors and the title and you will find it. And so they are like a review of reviews of everything that has been published on outcomes regarding character education. All the studies that would have some significant statistical data of practices, strategies, or programs that do have a positive impact on the character development of children. And not only character education, but they also look out for social emotional development, positive psychology, care ethics, cognitive moral development, and well, everything, I would say. So after all this research, they found out there are 42 common practices that are shared by most of these approaches. And so that's it. We got it, no? The 42 practices. Should we close the study and leave it like that? And we should tell practitioners, hey, here are the 42 practices. Choose whichever you want and apply them in your school or in your community, and you will promote character. So they thought this was not enough. And mainly for two reasons. One of them is that some of these practices, sometimes when they are applied, they work, but sometimes they don't. And why is that? Mostly because it's not the what or what we do is not the only component that affects the character development. It's also the how we do things. So those practices may very well be implemented, but if the how, if the way in which they are implemented is different in each circumstance, they will have a positive impact, no impact at all, or even have a negative impact. And the second reason is that they found out that you need to have something that many authors call a climate, others call it a culture, others call it an atmosphere, an environment, or more recently, an ethos. No? So you have something that speaks of the holistic perspective of the school. And it's something that each one of us, if we go to a school, we will know it. I don't know if by the end of the first day, but by the end of the first week, we very well might know if this is a school in which everyone cares for one another, if this is a school in which bullying and cheating is not only accepted but also admired, is this a school in which I trust the people that I live with and I'm willing to show myself as who I really am, knowing that I will be accepted and I will be cared for? So even if you implement practices in a good way, and if you have a climate or you have a culture, you have an environment that is not aligned with this way of doing things, then the practices won't bear fruit. So I think it would be better, instead of talking about these 42 practices, talking about design principles. Design principles that inform the way in which those practices might be implemented in order to produce a positive impact in the character development. And also, how can you decide, which I think is most important, but what I think is more relevant, is how to design the community. There's a very strong quote for Paul Houston, ex-administrator of the schools of the United States, that says, the schools are perfectly designed for the results we're attaining. If we don't like the results, we need to redesign schools. So it's about the design many times. Things are usually designed in order for people to have time to treat each other, to care for them, or maybe sometimes you are designed in a certain way that we don't have time for the important things. We have time for superficial stuff. So the first thing that I will say, also be grateful for Marvin for being my mentor these last 7 years. And something that made me surprised from some of the people in the audience, and what we've been discussing yesterday with Martin, good character education is good education. It's very important. Or this is mostly good education. It's not something else that you have to do in school. It's not another program that you have to implement. It's not another assessment that you have to do. It's not another training. But we'll discuss it further in the next slide. So these are the 6 design principles of PRIMED. I will explain them little by little, each one of them: prioritization, relationships, intrinsic motivation, modeling, empowerment, and developmental pedagogy. So first, the reasons why I personally choose PRIMED, or why I thought that this would be good for at least the realities I know of public and private schools in Latin America and Spain. We focus on things that can be changed, which is it's an important thing. When you go to public schools or to private schools that have a lot of money, usually you ask principals in this training leadership things that we do. What do you need to change your school? Or what is needed for you to actually make climate or culture? And they both say the same. They want more money. They want better students. They want better teachers. They want better families. They want a better government. And that's great, But tell them, hey, I have bad news. I'm almost sure that you won't have more money. You will have the same students, the same families, teachers, and you will have the same government, or even one worse. So you shouldn't be focusing on that. Is there anything that you can do? So this is a question that we open them, and I think PRIMED or design principles are actually about things they can change, the things that can be improved in school, even when you don't have this means. It's not a magic recipe for every school. I don't believe in magic recipes for something that will work for every school in any place. Mostly because I think each community has their own particular problems and their own talents and their own limitations. You need to pay attention to the particular circumstances of each one of them. And also because what is needed one year very well might be different the next year. So having like fixed solutions, I don't think it's a good approach. I think it's better to help leaders develop what is needed to discern in each moment what would be more convenient for their community and how they can do it. So we're talking about building a community. It's based in evidence-based practices, so there's research behind all these design principles. And what is first that you were saying just before, Martin, character education is not so much about doing things, it's more about who you are and the way in which you do things. It's not another thing on your plate. It is the blend in which you have everything else. Because in most cases, the leadership processes are really because, well, at least I don't have to do more stuff. And also because it works in diverse cultures, or at least right now it's what we're seeing in USA, Taiwan, Singapore, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, Brazil, Slovakia, you know, at least my colleagues that have been collaborating with me or have been in the US doing the PRIMED Institute, they agree this is something that would be well received. So the first design principle, prioritization, ensuring that character elevation as a strategy and character development as an outcome are an authentic, explicit, supported priority for the school. This is something important. If you wish to know which are the priorities of a school or of a person in particular, you need to ask them for two things. Their, how do you say, their credit account, see which things they're spending money, and the second would be their calendar, to see which things they're spending their time. So, another dynamic that we do with principals of schools is ask them, hey, we make a circle and we ask everyone to hide their mobile phones. And we ask them, hey, would you be able to tell us which is the mission of your school? The mission that you usually have in a web page, or maybe you have it written in the walls of your school, or whatever. And I had only one time, one of hundreds, that I was able to say, hey, this is the mission. You got it right, you know, because we check afterwards. But usually people don't know which are the missions. So we tell them, you know, and it's fine. Nobody usually remembers the mission that they put. No, but it's something that we can reflect on. And then we ask them, well, could you tell us, you certainly know what you do or what you're trying to do in your school, which is the purpose of life, which is your mission, your personal mission. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? And another experience is that they don't usually have the words to say. Or they have some words, I mean, they will say something. But then they say, I don't know, I think I can improve it, or I don't feel satisfied with this statement that I just made. And we tell them, well, it is important for you to think about this. It is important to know about where do you want to go. Seneca said that there are no good winds for the sailor who doesn't know the destination. So it's important to know where you want to go. And then another thing is to know, hey, is this really your priority, your mission, or is it the mission of your school? Is it the mission of your stakeholders? Does teachers share this mission? Do students, does the families, the staff working in the cafeteria or driving the bus to school? Because if not, it may very well might end as a boat in which you have a lot of people rowing in different directions. So where would that boat go? So as you see, regarding the prime model, what Martin says and Aristotle, for Aristotle, that tells us humanity is eudaimonia, the end of human nature, so that there's no higher priority. And among the things that promote eudaimonia, the thing that provides the most eudaimonia is the realization of effort, exercise, spiritual. And this is not conditional or absolute for every human being. So at least in this first design principle, I think there's no difference between them. I'm sorry if I don't give maybe specific examples of how this design principles can be applied. Maybe if someone has a question, we can do it later in this discussion, but half an hour is very brief time for me to present everything. So the relationships. Intentionally develop positive connections between members of the school community. This includes all stakeholders. These relationships are based typically on positive interactions and shared knowledge of each other. So every one of us would like to have good relationships in school. And not only students with students, but also students with teachers, teachers with administrators, administrators with staff, and staff with students, and staff with families, families with teachers. So this is something that we have to consider. Hey, are we trying to achieve this in an intentional and strategic way? What do we do to foster relationships. Maybe some of them could be friendships. Some of them could be caring relationships, or you can think of some other relationships that we would like to have. So maybe one story that I can tell here is an example that Marvin always uses about the golden and the tarnished children. So golden children, I think if any of the educators or the practitioners are here, and also the university teachers might have this students who come after summer and say, "Hi, Professor Dabdoub, I'm very happy to see you. I've been missing classes during the summer. I read 10 books that you suggested me, and the special optional project for homework, maybe I have also done it 2 times. And here's an apple that I brought for you, by the way. You look very nice in those books." No, so you have these children and you enjoy with them. You know? They learn from you. And you really decide to spend more time with them. It's easy to spend time with these children. On the other hand, we may have tarnished children, which might be this great children, I don't know, at the university level or also school, maybe they come with a bad face, they don't shave or they don't bath, you know, so they smell and they are unable to be quiet. They know how to push your buttons and make you crazy in class, you know, and they disrupt the learning environment, and it's just, you just want them to go, you know. They're calling the parents, please take them, you know, move them to another class. We don't like to spend time with these kind of children. It's not easy. But the one thing as educators that we must remember is that the golden children don't need us. The golden children don't need us. Mostly because they're golden children, mostly because they have a golden life in most of the cases. They have a golden family, they have a golden neighborhood, they have a golden friends. So if you are or you are not in their life, this is not going to make a significant difference for them. It's going to be well, it's going to be fine because you might also very well be a golden teacher, you know, and you will provide them with good things. But the tarnished children, if you are in their life, this might be a great difference for them. Many times, tarnished children are the way they are because they don't have stable adults in their lives. You might be the first stable adult that brings stability to their lives. So we should remember that and take this to heart. In Aristotle, friendship is, well, I think Blaine has already told a lot about friendship, and Aristotle, I don't have to go further. Perhaps the most important school of virtue. They serve as models, they exercise and correct each other, and this quote from the Magna Morale, I think it's beautiful. No? As when we wish to see our own face, we do so by looking into the mirror. In the same way, when we wish to know ourselves, we obtain that knowledge by looking at our friend. So again, I think both Aristotle and the second principle are very well aligned. Internalization, valuing something for its own sake and not for its consequences, example given. Rewards, punishment, recognition. Internalizing values so they apply wherever one is to doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. There was a church community that invited Marvin to be part of a Sunday school for parents on how to promote character development. And he was explaining this design principle. And then one of the parents stood up and said, "Hey, so you're saying that when my child asks me, why did I say no? I cannot tell him that it's because he said so." And Marvin looks at him and he says, "No." And the father says, "Why?" And he looks at him and said, "Because I said so." So the church community starts to laugh. And then he looks at him and says, "How does it feel? Do you like it?" And well, maybe children have another kind of stage of rational development, but they understand a lot about reasons. And it's very important that we try to explain them. paying attention to the level, to the state in which they are, but we cannot be moving always on this is because I said so, or this is because someone else said so, or this is because we have been doing this for a long time, or give an example, no rewards, functional recognition. Maybe some of you are thinking, why didn't the authority here? So, I think I finished my time, I'm sorry. So, what I will do is go fast. I mean, during the questions, tell the Turkey story. It's a very good one, I think. Modeling. This is just how do you do to make your child read in Spanish? No? As you see, the drawing tells the rest of the story. Empowerment. This is like providing students to make actual choices, to making decisions, and figuring out what someone good would be. And I think this is very well aligned with Aristotle, because choices, doing choices in a moral way is something that is needed to become virtuous. Developmental pedagogy, I have a very good story regarding security cameras. Please do. No, maybe during the discussion. Can be very good. So finally, I think this will be interesting to say, and I finish with this. It's a story about, it's a joke, so we can finish with a happy thing. About a man who's walking in the night in the park, and he finds another man behind a coastline, looking for something in the grass. And he stands beside him and he says, "Hey, what happened to you?" He said, "I lost my car keys." He said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Would you like me to help you?" He said, "Yes." So they started looking behind the light, the grass, and they spent there like 15 minutes. And then he says, "Hey, we've been looking a long time. No, I don't think the keys are here. Are you sure that you dropped them here?" And he said, "Well, no, I dropped them over there in the darkness." So he said, "And why are we looking this here?" And he said, "Because the light here helps us to see better." No? Pretty evident. So I think that this is the final thing. Teaching and learning about virtue is something that is relatively easy to do. It's like looking below the light. It's easy to have contents. It's easy to have exams to make assessments about what children know and don't know about virtue. It's easy to know if they are able to solve moral dilemmas. And that's not bad. That's great. But I think the keys are not there. The keys are in the darkness. And they have to do with the climate, with the culture, with the relationships, with the motivations, the model, the autonomy. And this is way more complex. And to have this kind of approach is way more risky. It's more risky than the safe environment that we have by teaching and learning content. But if we want to find the keys, we need to venture into the dark. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. Not only for the content, but also for the style. Yes, you are very attractive lecturer, and I think it listen you 2 hours without break. And it's a very good motivation to read. I hope you will send us an article and then we can share your ideas from at least the rest. Well, again, there are many things to speak about. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time. Yes, for example, as you said, that character education is play. It's not something additional. It's the play. But on the other side, we need the time to reflect.
we need the space to speak about the values, the virtues. Yes, that's surely the most powerful way how to educate you to be virtuous, to be modeling and cultivating yes, both actions. But still, for example, ethical education is what is particular like a single hour, at least 1 hour per week, uh, which offers the space to speak about what you do. So maybe yes, there are some other questions like that. So please prepare your questions for one, and we will see you again at our discussion. Well, thank you very much. Well, it's time to 3 p.m. and we don't know, but we are 20 days at the coffee break at this moment. So we have another 10 minutes for coffee break. Let's have a little bit prolonged break to 20 minutes, but not more. Please be here 10 after 3 a.m. Okay? Thank you very much.